Hi everybody, this is the Acoustic Guitar Show, another great episode with another great acoustic guitar player. One of my favorites actually, like all the others, by the way, and he's introduced by this. Please welcome Pierre Bensusan.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hi Pierre.
Hi, how are you, Daniele?
First of all, how's your life during these very strange times? How's the life of a live acoustic guitar player?
Wow, well, it has been unique for everyone on this planet. This is a consolation and legal piece of information we have had those 18 last month, which is that we all collectively have been experiencing something completely unique that made history, and in our lifetime, no one has experienced anything like this. So I try to put this into perspective with my situation as a musician, because some people have been extremely hurt, much more than myself. So I'm trying to take some distance compared to what I experienced. It was not great because I had to cancel about 150 concerts. A big tour in America. I went to America, I started my tour, which I had organized for the last 2 years, so it was a lot of work and was very well organized. I have to say, I was very pleased with the way it
Yeah.
was. And I had worked hard to make synchronize a record, a new album release, a new book release. So everything was perfect except this. So
Yeah.
So I went home and put myself into lockdown. But in fact, my wife and myself, we live in the country, 1 hour east of Paris. So we are. This is what I realize is that we are pretty much in lockdown most of the time. My life is very reclusive. Of course I go out. I go to Paris once in a while. I am going to run my errands in the city, 8 kilometers away from where we live. But it was quite amazing, in fact, to have to stay in our lawn pretty much and experience total silence. And we live in the country; it's very quiet. But in fact, I realized that it was not quiet before. We could hear
Before.
planes, we could hear engines, we could hear tractors, cars passing by, and all of a sudden we could hear nothing. Just the wind in the trees, the birds, more wildlife. The sky was extremely quiet and beautiful.
Yeah.
And so it taught me something uh, regarding how I was ruling my life before. I realized that I was always running at the time, and that I never had the time to do things properly.
Yeah.
This
This
is
is
one thing, the modern musician's life is that you have to wear several hats, and one of them is to have a very very good administration um, palette. We need to be very together administration wise, contracts, communication, social networks, all of those things, and this has nothing to do with the pure activity of researching music, practicing, studying, composing, producing, recording.
yeah.
It's almost like the real work starts once the music is there already. But for me, the real work as a musician is to write music, is to play, is to cultivate my art, is to become better, a better musician, a better instrumentist, a better writer, a better interpreter. So where the link is between this laboratory work, very reclusive, very private, and then at the end of this tunnel, the audience, which is always present in my work, because I'm really fulfilled to play for people. I want to transmit, I want to share, and this is where I feel that I'm respecting my contract as a musician, the contract with myself, which is that I need to share this music with people so that I know how this music is going to be. No, first I know how this music is going to be coming out of me. Uh, this music will start vibrating once it will be out of me, and I feel I need to know if this is working or not. I don't know before. I have, of course, intuition. Things speak to me when I write, and of course, I feel that I'm in a good line, in a good road. But I need to experience this music in a live situation in front of people, which is a complete unique context that you cannot duplicate when you play for yourself or you play for, when you do a streaming concert, which I don't because
Yeah,
I can't do it because of those reasons. I'm too with myself.
I
And
perfectly understand that.
when I play a concert, I'm not with myself. The idea is that I go out of my skin. I am with the music, and I bring people to that same. That's I hope to bring people to that same resonance, where the music can be in vibration. So to answer now your question more directly, I took this experience almost as grace for me, despite the fact that so many people have been living a tragedy. Families, elder people, young people have been losing a dear one. People have been losing jobs. Economically, it has been. I mean, we went through a tragedy.
Yeah,
For me, it was less a tragedy because financially I was helped. So I didn't have to be completely like, oh my God, how am I going to survive with this? Friends helped me, family helped me. I had I had put aside some money so that I could fulfill my work without having too much to worry for the time being. And also because I had installed a lot of things during my career, I was able also to collect my performing rights, my royalties, um, my website earnings and stuff, and all of those made that I could uh, keep on being the musician I want to be, but with the chance to not have a deadline anymore. So what happened is that I started to write like crazy. I wrote so many new pieces, and I did some work. I was invited by Donny Osmond from the Osmond Brother to play on his record and stuff like that. So beautiful things happened. Meetings, collaborations, um, putting together my new album. My new album is basically completely written. I just have to learn what I wrote now. So uh, it has been a, a chance for introspection for me, a chance also to confront with my ideas, music that I want to, the direction of where the music is going towards, and to experience playing this on the guitar to see how it works on the guitar. But I have also received a beautiful commission project for the future, which will keep me busy until 23, which is to write music for a fascinating project called the Garden of the Climate. It's a French international project called the Jardin du Climat, the Garden of Climate, which is basically going to put together all the alternatives that we have when we are confronted with the climate change. And
yeah.
I have to write music for that, which is fascinating. So I'm going to spend time in the next month touring a little bit, resuming touring, but also staying in my studio and write for guitar, but not only orchestrations, virtual instruments. So I look forward to that very much. So basically, to sum it up, I feel like I don't want to tour as much as I used to anymore. I want to mix my time more like touring less, but touring because I need to tour not only financially, I need it to for the music. The music needs that experience, but also I need
Absolutely.
to spend time within myself in my own privacy to to put together my bread, if you want. my
Yeah,
main
sure.
business image.
Yeah, great. Um, we could go on for hours, especially with you, talking about these things. I would like to go back, and something I'm asking to all the players like you that were so important in a short, relatively short period of time. How is it to become Pierre Bensusan in a world that doesn't have Pierre Bensusan yet? I mean, you are so unique, and you came up of what exactly?
I came out of folk music. I'm I had a revelation when I was 12 years old that I wanted to be a full-time musician. That was at 12 years old. I knew what my life was going to be.
You were going to be what? Excuse me.
A full-time professional musician.
Ah, okay, okay. I
When I
didn't
was
hear it.
12, I knew that.
Yeah.
So when I
Wow.
was 16, I quit my studies and I became a professional musician. I did my first album when I was 17 and won the Grand Prix at the Montreal Festival and had a contract deal when I was 17. But I was already touring since the age of 15. 16,
Wow.
I was already performing here and there. And then Bill Keith, the banjo player, gave me a great chance to tour with him and join his bluegrass band because I was not only playing guitar, but I was also playing bluegrass on mandolin and guitar. And I was playing already I was developing my own personal style on the guitar from that age. From the moment I was 14 or 13, I was starting already to play in open tunings and to experiment with Irish music and Celtic music and American music and the British music and also folk French music. Those were talking to me a lot, and I felt that there was a niche for me that was coinciding with playing in Dagad or playing in open tuning and putting on the guitar a repertoire that was not aimed for the guitar. And so through that, I discovered the guitar, basically. And I'm self-taught, completely self-taught on the guitar, but it was not the time when you could have YouTube and learn from
Yeah,
tutorials. There was
I know
no,
that.
there was no written music.
Yeah,
There was nothing.
nothing. Yeah,
You were just you had the vinyls and the cassettes. That's it, and
yeah,
then the CDs later. So if you wanted to work something that you loved played by someone else, you just had to learn it by listening to it.
yeah,
And great, great, because a musician is about that's all a musician is about. About
yeah.
the listener. The musician is before playing is a listener,
It's
and
a
the
listen.
quality of your listening is going to determine the quality of your musicianship. Basically. So this is something which I was lucky to have right from the start. And when I was 6 years old, I started to play piano also, and I learned how to read music as I learned how to play with my teacher. She was fantastic. The first lesson I had this method rose, a pink message for very young children that were very easy music to read and play. Easy now, but for me it was not easy. It was like we had to learn something. But I realized that you could learn how to read music without even noticing you learn to read music. And that was a great chance, which I find uh, for me. After when I started to play guitar, I completely forgot about written music. And then I went back to written music when I started to write my own music and using uh, paper and ink, and then using Sibelius software. Well, now I use Sibelius for everything, which is a fantastic program. There are a few programs out there which are great. This one is for me exactly what I need. It does everything I need. It has a very comprehensive guitar. Um, Guitar platform where you can write music but also tablature, and it has a lot of signs, so it's very good. Um, and self-taught. I always wanted to sound like myself. And an intuition that I had was that if I really love someone, and I did love a lot of players, I should never sound like they did. So for me, every time I was enjoying listening to something and loving a sound of loving the musicianship of someone, it was a help, an inspiration to dive even deeper into my own DNA and find out who I was and what I wanted to be, how I wanted to sound, to be perceived, and what I had to share with people. So that was the influence I had.
Yeah. Did you have your sound from the beginning in your head, and you were trying to get better to get to it, or you built your musical identity in ears?
Both. I had music in my head, but it was also I was fooling around with the guitar, and a lot of ideas came like that, noodling, and ideas, composition came like that. I was not writing; it was all in my head and in my fingers. But I was not also familiar with my fretboard because I was playing in standard tuning a lot at the beginning, but very soon I took that deviation towards open tunings. And this is when I found that God on my own. I didn't know that God was already found, and I thought, then when I knew that the great David Graham also was responsible for that God, I was not surprised because it's a very easy tuning to come across. I was
Yeah.
not surprised that other people found that God too.
Yeah.
So, but when I found that guy, he talked to me a lot, and I started to. I surprised myself to mostly play that guy from then on, but also other trainings, which makes me realize that I didn't know my fretboard at all. I was just playing by memories of fingers, and it was very inspirational. The sounds were very, very. Uh, they were very full, very broad, very open. They were very emphatic. They were inspiring me to like to elevate myself. I felt like wow, I'm going up with those sounds. And coming from the piano, I felt like I could almost play as if I had my foot on the sustain pedal of the piano, and so I was understanding the guitar polyphonically and also sonically, and I was trying to be a pianist on the guitar
Yeah. Sure. Of course.
because that's where I come from. That's where I come
Yeah.
from. So and the stretchings were not too much of an issue for me because my hands were already built by playing piano at a very early age. So I had that chance that I was not too much embarrassed to play big stretchings that you find when you play open tunes. Um, but I knew in my guts that I had a sound on my own, even without knowing the big universe of guitar music out there. I was listening to a lot of guitar music from the countries I mentioned before, and no one was sounding like me. And I made sure that I would not sound like other people, although I could belong to a family of players like John Renbourn or Bert Yang, I would be more associated with the British school of guitar music than with the American school of guitar music, so to speak. Although I played bluegrass, so that
Yeah.
also came in my knapsack. I had a knapsack full of so much information of music, and I was very fortunate to have a father who was a great music lover and extremely versatile into all kinds of music. So from the age of from as long as I can remember, music was always at home, and my mother was singing Arabic and Jewish lullabies, and my father was loving Django Reinhardt and opera and accordion, musette music, tango. So all of those sounds were there. I grew up with that. And my two sisters, which are older than me, were already studying piano and studying classical music. And when I grew up, my elder sister loved Ray Charles and Sonny Rollins, and my other sister loved the Beatles and Elton John and all those guys. So we had the English pop, American jazz. My father, every weekend, it was dedicated to him because he was working. So on weekend, he was home. So on weekend, it was Django and Grappelli and Benny Goodman and Carlos Gardel. and and me, I was with my piano, and when my teachers left, I stopped playing piano. I felt like an orphan because I loved my teacher so much. So I stopped
Yeah.
playing piano for several months. I didn't want to play anymore, and my parents were devastated, and they were also uh, not very rich. They needed funding, so they sold the piano. But my father bought me a guitar instead, and I didn't know what to do with the guitar. And one day there was a concordance between two facts. The first one is that we had a vinyl of Narciso Yepes, the Spanish guitar master, playing Forbidden Games, Jeux Interdits, the soundtrack of that beautiful French movie in black and white, talking about the exodus of French people when the German army came in occupied France. And so the soundtrack of that was, da 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 da. Da, 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 da. I didn't know that it was like a very, very famous guitar tune. For me, it was like the most beautiful music. I heard that vinyl that my parents had. I had no idea how to tune the guitar, how to change strings, how to play a chord. But I listened to Mr. Yepes playing, and I made the difference between the open strings and the strings that were not open. And I knew that every time a string felt like open, it was one note of the standard tune of the way to tune a guitar properly. So I found the standard tuning just by listening to that record, and I learned the piece by listening to the record. But the problem is that I started to fool around with the mechanics and break strings. I had no idea how to change strings. So very soon I could not play anymore. So I started to play with 5 strings, and then 4 strings, and then 3 strings, and I loved it. And a friend of mine came from school, and he taught me how to change strings, and he taught me a few chords, and that was it. From there, I started to sing like crazy, and to sing Bob Dylan, to sing Donovan, play in the metro, and busk in the street, and to sing Brassens and all the French singer-songwriters. And so I sang a lot and used the guitar to accompany myself. I started to work with bass lines a lot, how to go from one chord to the next chord, all standard tuning. Until I played with friends from school, and we had this trio, and we were singing Progress in Nash and Young. So we were working our polyphonies, voicings in English, and this is also when I came across open tunings, because Stephen Stills had a beautiful song called 4 and 20 in open tuning, which I learned, you know, and then I fooled with other tunings played by people like Martin Carthy from England, or Nick Jones, or Renborn, or Jens. It was not that guy, it was other tunings. And that inspired me so much that I started to take the guitar direction from singing standard tuning to play more and more instrumental music on the guitar, sing, but consider the guitar in open tunings until 1978, where I made the conscious choice to play in one tuning and finally to learn my fretboard in one tuning, but which was, and I chose that guy.
So you are an acoustic guitar player by chance, because your piano teacher left.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
great things happen.
Well, it was a guitar, but imagine if my father had bought me a bandonian, I would have played the bandonian.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and if I had waited a bit longer, I would have resumed playing piano, and I would have never been a guitar player. I would have remained a pianist.
Yeah,
I
probably.
I think my point, yeah, probably, I don't know, but my point is that when music wants to come out, it comes out, whatever the instrument.
Yeah, and your good friend Michael Hedges used to say, "I don't want to play the guitar. I want to play music."
Yes, but yeah. But some people might be confused when they hear that. Um, so the instrument is a voice to music, but you end up spending most of your life trying to master this instrument.
Yeah.
so that you can be the musician you want to be, and so that people can not even pay attention to the instrument you play. You see, this is very strange, in fact, because you spend your life trying to master an instrument in order for people to never think about that instrument, to not see it, and it becomes invisible, so that you close your eyes and you are in the presence of music. So I think the real mastery of an instrument is how to make it talk music and not
Yeah.
instrument. You
Yeah.
know,
Sure.
this is something which I guess every instrument can fall under its own law of gravity. But for the guitar, I feel it's extremely visible when you play guitar and when you play music. And sometimes the two coincide, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes you feel that you are playing music. No, you are playing something which is not coming from your imagination. It's not coming from your ideas. It's something that your fingers are just doodling and find because it's on the fretboard.
Yeah.
Fine, that's one way to get to be more a friend with your guitar. So you need to become that friend. You need to have the guitar become your best friend, so that you can communicate in all privacy, in all confidence, and grow your confidence from there. I would think that this is the first layer of confidence, which is extremely important to establish this rapport, this relationship. But then there is a new layer of of experience, which is the music itself. You realize that once you know how to play a tune, this is when the music process starts. It doesn't start before, because before you are abstract. You are absorbed, excuse me, absorbed with the technique, how to make it work, how to learn how to teach your fingers to play and to master something. But you realize that between the technique and the music, there is no rapport, no relationship. You can be the best technician you can be, but you can also miss the music.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. You
You
can
can,
be the fastest guitar player ever without doing any music. Yeah.
yeah, but it's so subjective, and we have to be careful to not hurt people's feelings. It's not a great technician, great, great for great for this person to be a great technician, but the technique should be at the service of something. It's not. It's not. It's not ending there. It's starting there.
Yeah, what I always say to my students is think of a writer or a painter. You never think of the pen, you think of the book. And the guitar is our pen. You don't have to think of the guitar, you have to think of the book.
And after a while, you even forget the book.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I'm saying. The book is just an object with the mind of a writer. So it's like the book, you enter the mind of the writer, and then you are with the writer. And then you forget the writer himself, and you are within his world or her world, the world that
Absolutely.
this person wants to share with you. So even the writer disappears. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I think a musician disappears.
Yeah.
So the music itself is extremely abstract and extremely palpable. It's it has a life of its own, and we are all there, luthiers, sound engineers, electronicians, musicians, to make this abstraction being all what we see and hear. So we need to disappear. We need to
Yeah.
become visible.
Yeah. Someone said technique has to be invisible. If you see technique, there is one problem with the music. If you see too much technique, right?
Yes, yes and no, because technique is also a sense of urgency and drama at a concert. Because this is when you realize that the musician is taking all of those chances. It could collapse completely in front of you, in front of the audience. It could die on stage by crushing technically. You see, so this is also a moment when the people see the investment of a person in order to become a musician, and see all those abilities and expertise being so smooth and stuff, and people realize this person spends his life, her life, doing this, and it does it for us, so that we can forget our worries. We can just spend an amazing, beautiful moment for 2 hours outside of our head, outside of our concerns, our daily concerns. I think this is the very humble task of a musician, so that he can bring recomfort to people who come to listen to music. And if those people want more, they can have more. They can bring this music at their home and listen to it, and spend a very private moment, intimacy moment with the music. But I think the dramatic effect of a concert, when people see the expertise of a musician, and they see this musician taking chances, almost like walking on a tightrope, I think this is also contributing to the strength of the music and the richness and the fullness of the experience.
Yeah. These are great thoughts, and this is why you are so good. So many things are connected, and I wish people could think more of this, because this is so connected to music and to how certain things go. And so, as for many players, acoustic guitar was just an accompaniment for. As for the old blues guys, which were the first acoustic guitar players ever recorded, they were just singing and playing guitar to accompany the vocals. When did you realize that guitar was a polyphonic instrument, and that you could do so much more than just accompanying some vocals? And what were the first moments that made you think of that?
Singing, I guess. Singing and accompanying myself singing. I realized that the guitar was an orchestra and my voice was the lead. And then I listened to duets of a great singer accompanied by another instrument or a pianist, and I was listening to what the piano was playing, and it was amazing.
Duets like who, for example?
Like for instance, uh, a great opera singer, a duet between this singer and the pianist backing the singer. And the score on the piano was unbelievable. It was extremely complex and very full, but it was like an orchestra playing behind. Like the orchestra was where the voice was not, and the voice was where the orchestra was not. So they were complementary. And so that taught me something about to how to look at my guitar when I was singing. I basically, if I sing, then my guitar doesn't have to do the same thing. If my guitar sings already, then my voice doesn't have to do that. Or my voice can disappear completely. Maybe my guitar can just be alone and does what it needs to be done. But the voice is another color. So sometimes both are extremely complementary and are also bringing emotion. It's all about emotion at the end of the day. It's like it's about textures, emotion, and colors, and and density and contrast. The contrast between space and a lot of information. Contrast between silence and a lot of sound. Contrast between playing a solo line and a big wide distribution of notes in the harmony, and how you distribute those notes in the spectrum, in the bass, in the medium, in the highs. And so singing and playing, it's all complementary. And when the voice and the guitar do the same thing, it's a great effect. But for me, it's like it's a color. It's not the end of the day. So I'm trying to take advantage of all those things. When I sing, I write my score. At some point, I really sit down and really think to what I want to hear on the guitar. And I'm trying to have the guitar to fulfill completely the spectrum, that so that nothing is missing. And I make the choice to take that road, and it's one proposition. It could be another proposition, but whatever the proposition, it should work on a musical standard, so to speak.
Great. So you thought if a piano can do that, I can do that on guitar, which is a very smart thought because
Well, I call the guitar the orchestra of the poor people, of the people who cannot afford to have a piano, or who cannot afford to have an orchestra as a,
absolutely.
who can afford an orchestra? Today we can, because with this world of virtual instruments, you can start to
Yeah.
write music, and still it's a lot of work because you really need to manipulate those instruments. It's not because you
Yeah.
have them at your disposal that you know how to use them. You really
Yeah.
need to
Absolutely.
dive into those instruments as if you were a violinist, a band player, a bass player, etc., and so forth. But I had the guitar with me, so my choice was always, okay, what am I going to do with this inspiration I have? This is going to be a song, and very often I wanted to sing because it was all coming to me as vocal. The voice for me is the first instrument. This is the one I have with me all the time. I don't have my guitar with me, but I have my voice and I have my imagination. So a lot of the music I conceive is built in my imagination, and I build a sort of movie in my mind where actors become parts of music, or people inspire me in music. And I could name a lot of my tunes which have been starting like this, where I was envisioning people together. So it always go from people and humanity. Always, people are in the center of my inspiration, and with the nature as well. A book, a move, a talk, a quote that I heard from something, from somebody, or in a book, or in a movie. Other musics, of course, other musics speak to me. The thing is that being a musician, you have to be extremely careful when you are listening to other musics. How are you going to transform this into an inspiration of your own that you can sign with your own name and not steal? Not borrowing is one thing, stealing is another thing. Sometimes we steal, we're not aware we do. It's not that we don't mean bad, but we don't do enough the work of introspection with the sound and how to transform it and bring it into a filter which is more personal. And I think we need to spend time with that. We need to really focus on transformation. We are alchemists. So if you love something to the point where you really want to bring this into your own culture, you have to transform it so that no one can come to you and say, this is belonging to you. Just took that from this composer, or this, to be inspired is one thing, but to quote an entire musician is another thing. So you have to be extremely aware, I think, aware of your inspiration, where it's coming from. And I think the fact to know where it's coming from is a great chance to transform it into something more personal.
Great, great. There is so much behind everything. One of your records is called "The Alchemist," right?
It's a
Am I right?
tune. It's a tune called The Alchemist. It's on my
It's a,
record called Intuit.
it's a tune. Okay.
And
I
speaking, and Daniele, speaking of The Alchemist, this is a vivid example of something that came from somebody else. For me, it was like, oh, this is so heard already. It's very folky, the C major thing. And then I realized that I was imagining something in my mind. I didn't want to take my guitar. For 6 months, it was all in my mind, and the tune was built in my mind. When I took my guitar, the tune was already composed, basically.
oh,
But then I
great.
realized that I was quoting Bob Dylan. Times are changing. So when I knew that, I was thinking, oh my God, okay. And that taught me something on what direction the tune could take, to go away from him, but but my inspiration of him to become an homage to him, like a thank you, but I leave you there. I'm taking this piece to a different world now. So you see, to know exactly your sources is a help to compose music in a form which is going to be more personal.
Is there something in your personal life as a fingerstyle guitar player? Is there someone special? I mean, someone like I don't know, Leo Kottke or John Fay or David Graham. Is there someone related to the fingerstyle guitar world that um, gave you something? I mean, in your mind, in your heart, or whatever, or some inspiration, or was it just a process of growth that you developed on your own with the music and yourself?
I've never been on my own. I've never been on my own. I've always been part of a group of people who inspired me, the sound. I was listening to them. You know, I told you I was playing Grotesque and Nash and Young, so for a while I was so fantasizing about each of those guys. Stephen Steele, David Crosby, Graham Nash, Neil Young. I was listening to them, to their personal career, and I was dreaming about them, and I was trying to be in their own mind to see how they were. It's so strange when you really love someone, you want to be in his mind. How can this mind come up with that inspiration?
Yeah.
You see, this is
Right.
so strange, so strange. When you look at their face and you try to feel the correlation between their face and the inspiration, it's so strange. Yeah, it's very, it's funny in a way, but for me, it's very sentimental. When I love a music, I feel I need to know more things about this person. This person becomes like a member of my family, you know, someone like a lighthouse, sort of guide, sort of caring person as well. And I owe this person the utmost respect. So for me, the utmost respect is to not sound like him. And
Oh, it's right. I've been thinking about this lately. I probably listened more to John Lennon's voice or Paul McCartney's voice than some of my best friends. Not to say that they are better than my best friends, but if I compare that, I probably listen to their voices more. So I perfectly get what you say, and it's very interesting if you
but
see it like that.
a lot of guitar players have inspired me. Uh, Americans, English, mostly coming from those two countries. United States is very rich in guitar music, as you know, and also very rich in self-taught guitar players. People who never learn how to play, who came up with a completely unique approach, like in the Delta, with all those blues guys who never learned. The music was pouring out. It was just figuring it out with the guitar, and they came up with the most outrageous guitar styles that became legendaries and examples that we should study and follow. You know, and also in England, I love the very meticulous approach of English players. They are it's like jewelry. You know, it's very refined, very precious, it's extremely precise, very detailed, ornamented, and yet
Which
unique.
is something you have in your playing, so you.
Something which I absorbed from them, and I had it also because the life of a note is very important. How this note comes to life and how this note dies, and how
Yeah.
two notes meet, and how to say spend a bit of time together and then depart from each other.
Yeah.
And it's very important to listen to a note from the beginning until the end, and to listen to all the notes the same way. So in fact, you are like parents looking at your children and taking care of each of your children. Each one is important. And for me, the notes, they are like that. They are like my family, and I'm like their guide. I'm responsible for them because I give them life. Silence could be also a choice. But if I choose to break that silence with sound, then that sound must be uh, sought out. It must be respected. It must be the best it can. And this is when you start learning your your your, your job being a musician by being attentive. So there is no time for introspection or looking at yourself doing things. In fact, you forget yourself in that process. You feel you are part of a chain, and this is what makes people like me being able to play on stage and not be completely scared to death to play for people. Because I could also freeze and be so nervous. Sometimes I am. I I,
Yeah.
I transform that nervousness into energy and this energy into music. But because I have this experience. But when I mean the point is to really forget oneself, to forget ourselves doing what we do. And so as soon as you enter the listening process, you're already busy and you're already absorbed.
Yeah, great. And this is very clear from how you play. The first time I saw you, I came to the Six Bar Jail in Florence. I came all the way from Rome because I never saw you live, and that was the closest I could get. So I came. They're a good friend of mine. I played several times at their club, and the performance was wonderful and was just full of all the things you've been talking about until now. And I wish people could learn more and think more about this kind of things, because this is what a musician is made of. A lot more than scales and chords and technique and whatever. Music is just somewhere else. And as you were saying before, I told to the students sometimes and show them the guitar and say, do you see this? This is our limit. This is what we have to fight against, but in a good way, of course. But that's the limit. I mean, if I was a singer, I already had it here. Not that I can sing, but it would be with me. It would be a lot easier. And on the guitar, just to play a few notes, you have to do so much. And this is great because you have a very special musical word, which is completely supported from what you say, and this is why you play like that, because you think like that. That this is really great. And do you feel because you stayed with that GAD, so it's under tuning for you now, but it gives you such a character from it's different from the other players, even from those who use that GAD, because you use it in such a deeper way. Do you feel you're still growing and learning, and what are you doing to maybe the listening of some new music that you never listened before? Is there something you do to fulfill your spirit, which is making your music going on?
I do a lot of things to fulfill my spirit. Um, Coming back to that God, um, I try to hide that God when I play, so that to have this bass in D, for instance, it's a chance. So it should not be.
Of course.
It should be coming apropos, and you should save it for good moments. That D.
Yeah.
So I can play in any key now.
Yeah. Of
And
course.
before I was putting a capo a lot because my fingerings were very, I was pleased with playing in D or in A or in G or in E minor or in F, and so I would put a capo in order to keep that rapport of fingerings. But I realized that in classical guitar music, capo is hardly
Out of
useful.
the picture. Yeah.
It's almost out of the picture. Whatever the key, they are there, they deliver. And so I started to feel, okay, well, then maybe to not use the capo is going to give me a chance to know my fretboard in a deeper way, and to find a beautiful concordance of notes and resonances between fretted strings and open strings this way. And so that is completely disappearing there. Completely. I think the most time when I play, that guy is not there. I don't think that bad. I think uh, counterpoint. I think polyphony. I think melody. I think singing. The melody should sing. Every note should sing. You know, when you were talking about singing, I think it's a beautiful inspiration for the voice to sing. This is something we all have. We can
Yeah.
understand pitch. We can understand vibrato. We can understand um, effects, uh, tenuto, sustain, and stuff like that. We can understand being in tune, being out of tune. We can hear and correct. So we can develop our pitch just by using our voice. And so I was saying before the same thing, the quality of what we put in our voice should be put into whatever sings in what you play. And how you put this effect and this sentiment and expression into your playing. You know, you can be technically very good and start playing the music, but you are going to realize very soon that in function and what sentiment and what expression you put in what you play, you can always completely change the nature of what you play. The tune has several faces, several sounds and several directions. The same tune could have so many different faces. And that's what I love about changing the rapport between uh, playing rubato, playing in rhythm, a tempo and rubato, but also playing with, mezza forte, piano, pianissimo, mezzo piano, and fortissimo, and do all of that at different moments. Even if you repeat the same music phrase, if you change the sentiment, it's no longer perceived like a repetition. It's something else. You give a
Yeah.
direction to what you play. You give a
Absolutely.
direction to the story you are telling. In fact, it becomes storytelling. This is what makes people forgetting to play guitar. If all of a sudden people realize that you are playing music for them and you are telling them something with the music. And
Yeah.
so I think that what is important is how to grab the attention of someone listening. That's another inspiration to compose music. How do you make someone listen to you and not be bored after 30 seconds? How do you capture the attention of someone from the beginning until the end of the music and therefore shoot out an entire concert? You know? This is for me a moment important which helps me to compose music. To sustain the attention. First, it needs to sustain my attention. I'm the
Yeah.
first witness. I'm the first listener of this music.
Yeah. Sure.
So if it works for me, maybe it will work for other people. But sometimes I could also fool myself. I could be wrong. I could also put myself in the center and not be enough distant to myself as a person, as an ego. I could be too close of my ego instead of using my ego for other purposes. Yeah. So all of those are very important, I guess, when we conceive music, when we share music. And this is why the stage, to be on stage and to play music, to confront this music to an audience, is a moment when music speaks the truth.
Yeah. Do you ever, maybe you did, but did you ever write a song, maybe in your head and thinking that it was some key, some specific key, and then going to the guitar, you found yourself saying, "No, this is not the right key. I have to look for the right one because it didn't feel good because of the key."
Well, I try. It's funny you mentioned that, but when I think music in a special key, I think this key is fundamental for my inspiration. So if I'm going to bring that music on the guitar, I'm going to try to play it in the same key. And
Exactly.
I always have a tuning fork with me, always, to give me the A, to remind me the A440, so that I can, because I like once, at least once a day, I try to sing the A and I compare with my tuning fork to see if I remember the A, so that I can work on my relative pitch. And so when I have an inspiration, I know in which key I am. Exactly. That's it. So when I have inspiration, I remember in which key I am. Like for The Alchemist, I was singing. I was in C major. I was in C major all the time. It was a coincidence, and I was thinking, oh my God, this is so easy in the guitar. It's all the notes are there. It's a C major, and they are like in that guy. They are like two open strings, you know. So it was good news. But the key is very important. For instance, when I wrote a piece called Altiplanos for my record Altiplanos, I wanted to put my capo at the second fret because it was sounding better in E. And then I thought, okay, Pierre, you are playing in that gap, so maybe you should play in standard then, because in standard you have E on the bass and you have E in the treble strings. So I knew nothing anymore about standard tuning. I had completely forgotten standard tuning. But I wrote that piece in standard tuning.
Oh,
So yeah, because it was making a lot of sense. And it's funny to tune standard tuning with coming from that guy because I use a set of gauge which is exactly aimed for that guy. So my first bass is medium, my two treble strings are medium gauge. So when you work in standard tuning, you have the extremities which are a little bit tight.
yeah.
It's very interesting. In fact, you know. So I wrote that piece in standard tuning, and that told me, wow, it sounds really good in standard tuning. You know, but it sounds like if I knew what I was doing in standard tuning, but I didn't. I didn't. It was all because I was hearing this. So I
So
learned.
do you switch tunings live to play Altiplanos?
No, I don't, because I don't want to have this kind of problem when I'm live. So I never play Altiplanos. I have Anna Vidovic to play Altiplanos for me. I offered that piece to her, and she made it very famous worldwide. But that tells me something about the mind of classical guitar players. They want to have pieces written for them in standard tuning, and say, but why don't you? Okay, I played in that God, but why don't you play it in standard? It's not only a that tune; it's a piece of music for God's sake. So why don't you give it a chance? And some people do, and some people are a little bit afraid of going there. It's funny.
Did you rewrite Altiplanos with the capo on the second fret in that gad? Did you
I
try and
wanted,
play that?
I wanted to, and then it's taking time, and I'm thinking this is the past. I'm going. Let me
Yeah,
work on the present. It's not.
there's new music.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's all about time and energy, and I rather concentrate my energy and my efforts and
Yeah.
my time on new projects.
Yeah. I think this is it. Unless you have something you would like to say, this has been a very beautiful conversation as
Well,
I
thank you,
expected.
Daniel, and thank you for giving me a chance to express myself. It was very nice of you to give me this attention and this consideration. So thank you. I look forward to play some concerts now. And I'm terrified to be on the stage again. So it's like starting all over. It's almost starting all over again. After 18 months, it's like wow. When I will be on stage, oh my God, it's going to be something. So I hope the music is going to be my best friend at that moment. So
Yeah, I think it will be a lot more natural than we all think of.
probably, and to have gone through all of this experience collectively, I think we are going to be collectively very grateful for what we have and what we can share and give to each other. So I think it's
Yeah.
going to be amazing.
I want to thank you so much for doing this, and you're one of my favorite players, not just mine, but I think you have a very special place in our instrument history. And you just confirmed that with all the things you said. This could really go on forever, and
Daniele,
maybe
Daniele, I would like to make you a present and to make a present to all the people who are listening. I would like
oh,
to play for you one of my new compositions, but to have the computer to play it because I don't know how to play it yet. I just finished. I just finished writing it not too long ago. So something we didn't discuss is that I write music that I don't necessarily know how to play. And
Well,
then I learn it. You know.
so
Would you like
this would be.
Would you like to
Oh
listen?
yeah.
Okay.
Is this a question? Is this a real question?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's a little bit. Let me look for the tune.
This is amazing.
Well, I've been. That's what I've been doing. Those 18 last months. You know, writing.
So sometimes you write the music before getting the guitar.
Uh, I
Both.
write. I write. Yeah. Most of the time, I write without the guitar, and then I take the guitar later.
I hope we can listen to it because I don't know if it's coming
We'll see. Tell me what you.
at the end of the interview. An unexpected gift
Yeah.
from Pierre Bensusan.
Exactly.
An unreleased composition.
Yeah, it's going to be hopefully in my new album. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Are you going to play this live when you start playing again?
Not when I will start playing again. I will concentrate on my new album as one. You know, I will play things from as one, and but I will start working on those new pieces as well. I will start implementing those new pieces in the set as we go. You know, they are technically quite demanding. You know, but this is the direction I take for solo guitar. Okay. Tell
I
me,
see.
tell me how it sounds if you can hear it properly. Could you be a little bit louder, maybe?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, but not too much. Don't worry.
So this is called traversée. Traversée is like a little bit what we all experience collectively with this pandemic. We are like crossing, and uh, we are also experiencing those crossing coming from immigrants coming from Africa who are crossing the sea to come to the south of Europe, stuff like that. So it's a little bit all of that. And it's dedicated. It's a thank you to a great singer from Ireland. His name is Christy Moore from Blanksley. So it's dedicated to him as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I believe this is going to sound even better with you on guitar.
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan. At
That's
the
the
end.
plan.
But
Ah, beautiful.
it's going to be challenging. But you see that's the direction I'm in. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
what I
this
want
is
to show
great.
people.
Yeah, girl, thank you so much. How can you write so complicated music uh, before playing it? I mean, I find writing very connected to what I am. What if you find that something that you wrote and that you like is not really fitting your style or what you do? Do you know so well the program and what you do?
I don't think style. I never think style. I just think.
No, I'm talking about technique more than everything. I mean, what if you really like a passage and maybe there is something that is not really working on the guitar, or you just
Uh, well, I really work hard so that it's going to work on the guitar.
yeah, that's a possible question. Okay.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's very challenging, and you want to transform what is difficult, challenging, into something pleasant to play.
Yeah,
You cannot approach something with fearing and being afraid. You know, so you have to transform whatever is making you afraid and nervous into something which is okay. It's going to be fine. So that's how I work. This is how I discover my instrument and become a better guitar player. It's by putting myself these kind of challenges, not because I love challenges, but because I love the music that we just heard. That's that
because
music.
you need them.
That's that music I want people to hear, you know. And so I have to make it work. So I
Yeah,
take my guitar just to check if it's playable. And sometimes I find one way to play it, and then 2 months later, I found a much better way to play that same passage, much easier. So that's very interesting to discover your instrument this way, all the different options. That it's good to know, to try to figure out all the different options you have at your disposal so that you can make the best choice. Idea being to make it as simple as possible.
yeah,
As simple as possible to play, but also to hear. It has to be
yeah,
very clear, very,
yeah.
very precise that you really want people to hear that, you know. So what we just heard is a bit like a fugue, a fugue. It and when for me it was like okay, with an orchestra, I can sing that, and then the orchestra can do all this counterpoint behind, and it will be perfect. But then I thought, okay, Pierre, come back on ground. Where is the orchestra? Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. There is no orchestra. So then you have the choice to forget about your idea, to modify, to change it, to modify it, to make a compromise, and to live with this compromise. I try to make as little compromise as possible. Of course, there are compromises, but my compromises are more like compromises of pitch because my guitar can go so low and or it can go so high, and I have only one hand, my poor little hand, you know, only one hand on the fretboard. So I have to become an illusionist, to give the illusion that I can be everywhere at the same time, which is not true. It's impossible. You cannot be everywhere at the same time. But you can give the information to the ear that you are everywhere almost at the same time, because the ear restitutes the harmony. You don't have to play all the notes together to create a harmony. You just have to give that information of the notes, and the ear composes the harmony and the music itself. So in fact, I put the notes there, and I try to not repeat notes when I write. that note has been heard already. Why should it be heard again? Maybe there is something better to do, which is going to make the music more alive, more fresh, more in the present. And so I try to pay attention to what the ear has already heard, and so that I cannot repeat myself too much with the same sound, and go
Yeah, absolutely.
this kind of thing.
Yeah, sure, sure. Oh, this is well, thank you for
What?
the premiere for the premiere.
Yeah, it's played by Sibelius, so we have to thank Sibelius a lot. Sibelius can
We
play.
have, we have
Yeah. Can
thanks.
I play it? That would be the next question. We'll see.
I think Sibelius had a couple of good inputs from you.
Oh, yeah. I think it's Jean-Félix Lalanne who said if the composer Sibelius had known of the Sibelius program, he would have used it.
Yeah, sure.
It's a good way. I love it. All right.
So, Pierre, I wish you the possible best for your comeback. I don't know when are you starting playing again?
In October.
October. Okay.
I'm going to play in Torino at the folk club in December, in Verona as well, and maybe in a few other places in Italy. We'll see. But
Italy. Great, great.
I keep playing Italy in my heart. I love playing in Italy.
Uh, this is great. Thank you so much for doing this. This is a treat, and I will end the recording now, and we will say goodbye in private. So
Okay.
this was the Acoustic Guitar Show. Again, thank you, Pierre Bensusan, for doing this. I will see you all in the next episode. I will end broadcast now.